You've got something right now that is almost done. A project, a goal, something you've been working on for way longer than you expected. And somehow it's still not ready. And if you're honest, it's not because you don't know what to do next. It's because part of you doesn't want to finish it. Because finishing means people can see it, judge it, decide if it's good enough. So instead, you stay in this loop of refining, tweaking, just one more pass, telling yourself it's about quality, when really it's about avoiding risk. In this video, you're going to see why perfectionism isn't discipline. It's a defense mechanism, and more importantly, how to break out of it using a simple rule that will help you actually finish what you start, build real momentum, and stop wasting time chasing a version that will never exist. This may just be your next step. Today we are discussing the social arena as well as touching on mental and emotional health. Click the link in the description to see how Next Step Nate and the Structure of You worksheet can help you make sense of the intricacies of your life, how all the pieces work together, and to make sure you end up living the life that right now you're only imagining. I want you to think about something in your life right now. A project, a goal, a conversation you've been meaning to have. Something you've been planning or refining, rehearsing in your head for longer than you want to admit. And ask yourself honestly, is it almost done? Or is it still not quite ready? Because there's a difference between careful preparation and what's actually happening in your brain when perfectionism takes over. And understanding that difference is going to change how you operate. Perfectionism isn't a personality trait, it's a defense mechanism. Research in psychology shows that perfectionism is rooted in a fear of judgment. You delay finishing because finished means vulnerable. Finished means someone can evaluate it. And if they evaluate it, they might find it lacking. And if it's lacking, what does that say about you? So you keep on working at it. You keep refining, you stay in the safe zone, and this feels like diligence. But it's actually avoidance, wearing a very convincing costume. Before we get into the solution, I want to clear up 3 ideas about perfectionism that sound true but are quietly keeping you stuck. Myth number 1, high standards and perfectionism are the same thing. They're not. High standards mean you care about quality. Perfectionism means you are afraid of imperfection. One is about the work, the other is about protecting your ego. Think about it like this. A surgeon with high standards performs the best procedure possible with the tools and information available. A surgeon paralyzed by perfectionism delays the surgery until the conditions feel ideal. That delay is not a higher standard. That delay is a higher risk. Here's myth number 2. Waiting until something is perfect shows respect for your audience. This one is subtle. You've told yourself that releasing imperfect work is disrespecting the people who will see it. But here's the reality. Your audience isn't comparing your work to a perfect version that doesn't exist. They're comparing it to nothing, because nothing is what they have right now. Your imperfect version, released today, helps more people than your perfect version sitting in a draft folder. Myth number 3. Once you're finally done, it will be perfect. It won't. And I say this gently, but clearly, perfectionism is a moving target. Every time you get close, the standard shifts. You finish the draft, now the formatting isn't right. You fix that, now the introduction feels weak. There is no finish line in perfectionism because the whole point of the game is to never cross one. If this is landing for you, click the link in the description to see how Next Step Nate helps men who are stuck and find a clear, actionable path forward. So if perfectionism is the trap, what is the way out? It's something called the 80% rule. And once you understand it, you'll never approach your work the same way. The 80% rule is simple. Doing 80 to 90% of your best almost always produces results that are good enough to move forward. And it does so at a fraction of the cost of the final 10 to 20% requires. Think about effort and return like a curve. When you start working on something, your first burst of effort produces enormous results. You go from nothing to a rough draft, and that draft is already 70 or 80% of the way to excellent. But then the gains start to slow. That last 20% It doesn't take 20% of your effort to get there. It often takes 80% of your total effort to squeeze that out. Hours of revision for marginal improvement. Iterations that only you are going to notice. Obsessing over details your audience will never see. Economists call this the law of diminishing returns. What you need to call it is a warning sign that you've crossed the line from improving into delaying. The 80% rule doesn't mean you ship garbage. It means you understand that good work released and improved in the real world is almost always more powerful than great work that's held in your possession indefinitely. Let's talk about what chasing that last 10 to 20% is actually costing you, because it isn't just costing you time. First, it's costing you feedback. The only way you know if your work is truly effective is to release it into the real world and watch what happens. No amount of private refinement can replace that. When you hold on to something trying to make it perfect, you're using your own assumptions, not real data, not reality. You're guessing in private instead of learning in public. Second, it's costing you momentum. Momentum is real. When you finish things, when you ship, when you close your loops, your brain gets a signal. I am a person who completes what I start. That signal builds identity. It builds confidence. And confidence compounds into action. But when you're stuck in perfectionism, you're not just stuck on that one thing. You're slowly training your brain to associate effort with stagnation. Third, it's costing you time that you will never get back. Every hour spent chasing the last 5% is an hour you didn't spend learning from the real world, building the next thing, or moving to the next level. Think of it like this. Progress is not a straight line. It's a feedback loop. You release something imperfect. The world responds. You learn. You adjust. You release something better. That cycle is where all the real growth happens. But perfectionism breaks the cycle before it even starts. So how do you actually put this into practice? Because just let go of perfectionism is advice so vague it's almost useless. Here are 3 concrete steps you can start today. Step 1, define done before you start. Before you begin any project, write down what 80% complete actually looks like. Not the dream version, the functional version. The version that can go out the door and do its job. That becomes your finish line. When the work hits that definition, you ship it. Not when you feel ready, not when it feels perfect, but when you reach the line you drew before emotion had a chance to move the goalposts. Step 2, set a release deadline and treat it like an appointment. Perfectionism thrives in open-ended timelines. I'll finish it when it's ready. That's an open invitation for perfection to stay indefinitely. Put a hard deadline on everything. Not a soft goal, just a real commitment. Because deadlines force decisions. They force you to ask, what actually needs to be fixed, and what am I just fussing over because I'm afraid to release something? Step 3, adopt a version 1 mindset. Nothing you create should ever be the final word on the subject. It's version 1. It's the first draft of a conversation you're having with the world. Some of the most successful products, books, and businesses in the world started as rough, imperfect version 1s, refined over time with real-world feedback. Your goal is not to build the final version in private. Your goal is to get version 1 into the world so you can build version 2 with actual information. Here's what I want you to hear before we wrap up. If you've been a perfectionist your whole life, that doesn't mean something is wrong with you. It means you've cared. It means you've had standards. That instinct to do good work is not the problem. The only thing I'm asking you to adjust is this: the belief that done and good are in conflict. They're not. Done is what gives good a chance to become great. The person who releases imperfect work consistently and learns from the real world will always outpace the person who is still preparing for the perfect launch. Every single time, you are not behind just because you have high standards. You are behind because perfectionism has convinced you that not ready yet keeps you safe. And it doesn't. It keeps you still. It keeps you stagnant. And still is not where your next step lives. Before you go, I want you to sit with one question. What is one thing you've been holding back, waiting for it to be ready? One project, one idea, one conversation, one step that's been stuck in almost done for way too long. And write that down. Decide what 80% complete looks like for that thing and make a commitment to get it out the door this week. Because progress doesn't wait for perfect, and neither should you. Now that you understand why perfectionism stalls growth, watch this video next and learn 20 other simple habits just like this one that will make you unstoppable.